Now it's time to sample a European motorcycle whose name Mana means hand in Italian. I'm assuming this motorcycle's connection to its name comes from knowing that if push came to shove, you could literally ride this motorcycle with one hand. That's of course if it's your right hand. That's because this liquid-cooled 840cc single overhead cam 90-degree V-twin with its steel trellis frame and inverted 43mm fork comes with a CVT transmission. That's right, a continuously variable transmission which allows for a very scooter-like twist-and-go experience. As a result, there's no clutch. Just release the handbrake down by your left knee and you're off with the twist of a wrist. Mana, right? Well, sure, but wait, that's not all. With the flick of a switch, you can select a manual mode that will let you flick up and down through the 7-gear ratios Triptonic style, using your thumb and forefinger. The Mana can also be shifted via the good old foot lever. Again, no clutch required. Very interesting. But how does it work? Well, here's this week's guest road tester, Steve Bond. Mano a Mana. Well, Steve, if I may, if I could give my first impression when you rolled up this morning, I just couldn't believe it. You know, big gaping hole here. There's no clutch lever.
Yep, there's no clutch lever, Dave. This is sort of the Monty Python of motorcycles. It's like, and now for something completely different.
No kidding.
And this Aprilia Mana has it all. I mean, you talk about pushing buttons and pulling levers. We're into it here.
Yeah. Well, let's deal with the lack of lever first. Tell us how this transmission works. What are our options?
It doesn't need a clutch because it doesn't really have a transmission as such. It's a CVT variation like you find on snowmobiles or ATVs.
Right.
There's a pulley system with a belt, and there's 3 different modes you can go in, easily accessible by the thumb button on the right handlebar.
Right.
And it just selects sport, touring, or rain being the least powerful, sport being the most sporty and tight, and you just twist the throttle and go. You don't have to worry about shifting gears or anything else. It does it all for you.
So if you want, you can just forget about dumping the clutch, just twist the throttle, go.
Yep.
If you want to be more active, then you also have the paddle shifts, right? Or even the foot shift.
Yep.
But again, no clutch.
Exactly.
Very cool. Put it all together, tie it in with the motor. What do you think?
It's a nice package. It's an 850 V-twin, Aprilia's own make. The usual double overhead cam, fly-by-wire, so you're not really twisting a cable.
Yeah.
And fuel injection, and the throttle control is really good.
Yeah.
And the power is there. You just twist it and you're gone.
Yeah. And then, you know, obviously you're going along, you need to stop. But the brakes themselves, though, I mean, modern radial, they pretty beefy looking brake up there.
Yeah, it's a radial caliper. They look like Brembos, but they don't say Brembo, but they sure look like it to me.
Yeah.
Male slider forks, adjustable lever. Brakes don't have a really strong initial bite, but I think that's more geared to the audience as well.
Right.
You don't want them to hit really hard. You want it nice and smooth and progressive, and that's what you get.
Pretty compact looking motorcycle,
yeah.
Pretty low to the ground. It feels small underneath.
Well, the seat height is low, and I find with my long legs, my legs were a bit cramped coming down here on the highway. But again, that's the intended use. Might be a new rider, and it enables them to place both feet flat on the floor to stop, which is very confidence inspiring.
So you've got a parking brake every time.
Yeah, you see it moved.
Yep.
Yep.
Because it's in neutral all the time.
Absolutely.
But then there's also something here that you pull. You push a button.
Yep. The key has to be on. You think this might be the fuel tank, which it is on most motorcycles,
yeah.
But not so. Just turn the key, and there's a switch up on the handlebar. And you've got all kinds of storage in there.
Al, is sort of what we saw, a little bit of what we saw with the old BMW F650
yep.
CS. Remember
yep.
they had that? So where have they put the fuel?
The fuel is in behind the seat here, right underneath the passenger seat. And again, we need the key to get at that. There's a fuel filler. And say your wallet's in the storage area.
Right.
You think, oh, geez, I got to get the key and all this. Not so. Flick that up.
Okay.
You can access your wallet or your cell phone or whatever while you're filling up with gas.
So, who is this bike for? Is this for an experienced rider or is it for a newbie?
Well, I would say probably a newbie or maybe an experienced rider who maybe is getting on in years and has some physical problems where he can't pull the clutch in anymore or work the gear shift. Don't forget, too, there's a whole generation of people that have never learned to drive a standard.
Perfect.
And for us old salts, you know, there's a lot going on. We forget that. But when you pull away from a stop on a motorcycle, you're using both hands, both feet,
yeah.
plus your balance. With this, all they have to do is balance and go.
So you're impressed?
Yeah, I can see more uses for this in the future, for sure.
Overall?
Overall, I'd say 1 thumb up.
Nice job, Steve.
Thank you, David.